Hello everybody, and welcome to Riley Plays. I want to begin this video by stating that I am a Star Wars fan, but only to a mild degree. While I've watched all of the films, including the newest releases numerous times, I can't claim to have extensive knowledge of the series lore or character backstories. I'm what you would call a casual fan. I watch the films to enjoy their stories and to have a good time. That said, I wouldn't be opposed to doing a lore dive someday. I would love to explore the larger Star Wars world, including the tie-in novels, the comic books, and any tidbits the fandom website can offer me. The world Lucas created is a colorful one, and even those who aren't happy about the latest pack have noticed what a pleasing aesthetic it offers. In that regard, this pack seems to capture the spirit of the films. The story is lacking, but darned if the details of the creatures or the landscape aren't amazing. There are waterfalls, spaceships, aliens, and unique architecture. The films, beyond the original trilogy, were panned for subpar writing, but lauded for the music, the creatures, and the set designs. Lucas shone in the arena of world building, and anything Star Wars related tends to capture that. Beyond that, reviews for the pack haven't been great. Some were even willing to overlook the fact that it was Star Wars. Whether it's your cup of tea or not, quality is quality. Yet game changers who have received the game early have had little positive to say. The only consistently good note has been the look of the world. But you can't interact with much of it, and the story is confusing for those not versed in Star Wars lore. There were a few points I wanted to discuss. The first is how different everyone's opinions are. The second is what I was hoping, as a fan of both Star Wars and past Sims packs, would be. Thirdly, I wanted to go over why this pack might work for me, but why it won't work for the majority of fans. To begin, I watched a number of videos by other YouTubers, and I was struck by how differently everyone felt. There's been an overwhelming amount of ire over this pack. Therefore, it was refreshing for me to see varying viewpoints, including those which were more objective. Some YouTubers, while not being hostile, made it clear they weren't excited by this, and that's a valid opinion. You aren't required to love everything, particularly when you're spending money on it. Others, though they acknowledged that this pack seems random when placed in a wider context, were still curious to see what the game offered. They wanted to give the Star Wars pack a review based on its own merits, independent of its demand or the timing of the release. Grim Cookie's reaction stuck with me, because he was actually excited. He admitted to liking Strangerville too, and he reiterated a point I'd like to as well. Even if you don't want this, there's no need to be rude or attack others who are excited. There are people who will enjoy this, however much of a minority they may be. The Star Wars pack was included on a survey, coming in last. From a business standpoint, the timing of the pack seems funny. However, it's likely that EA had a contract with Disney. If you comb through the build and buy items in the game, there also seem to be hints of this pack. While some of the hints might be a bit of a stretch, they're no more of a stretch than other hints that have turned out to be true. I may do another video going through the hints the game offered, whether it was of Star Wars or a space-themed pack. All that said, there are people who will enjoy this. To my next point, I wanted to go over what I hope to see. I'm someone who enjoys both drama and fantasy elements. I'd be thrilled to purchase a Generations pack, but I'd be over the moon if werewolves were announced. Pun intended. I'm even happier to mix and match. The idea of my scientist being taught to knit by his grandmother, for example, only for them to go make a potion together afterwards, intrigues me. I like that concept of the werewolf, who's also having marital problems, or the alien who's freaking out because his kid is struggling in school. That's my gameplay style, and I understand that not everyone plays like I do, but I wanted to provide context for why I feel the way I do about the upcoming pack. After watching some of the early access videos, I'm a little disappointed. Some of the gameplay looks like it could be fun, and I am still planning on playing through the pack, but some of the mechanics I was hoping to see weren't present. To begin, There are the Occult States. I wasn't expecting the new aliens to be added as occults, but I was hoping for the Jedi and Sith concepts to be built on. I would have liked Jedi to be an actual occult state, just like the spellcasters and vampires, with their own skill tree. I would have loved to see trees with unlockable abilities, such as Force Persuasion, a higher likelihood of winning a lightsaber duel, or even the ability to fight by throwing a rock through the Force. It would have been fun if your Jedi sim could have filled their need meters too, through a Force Meditation ability. In addition to those abilities, there could have been 2 skill trees you could only unlock through your morality. This would have functioned like the Get Famous reputation system, with your reputation being either great or atrocious. Those with a bad reputation would have been labeled as Sith and would unlock abilities like Force Lightning. Force Choke might be too dark for the Sims franchise, but those are the types of abilities that could have made playing as one or the other worthwhile, or otherwise different. Adding those elements would have supported the claim that it's your own story, as the morality system and the recording skill tree unlocks would affect how you could play. The pack does come with something like a reputation system, but it seems more tied to unlocking specific quests than it does to how you can actually play. I was hopeful that the lightsaber would be a skill, and that only Sims of the Jedi occult category would be able to use them. This would have been comparable to spellcaster Sims being the only ones who could use wands, broomsticks, or cauldrons. I wanted to see a new occult state, the Jedi, come with its own objects, skill trees, and abilities, as well as a moral system. If they had done the pack like that, it would have made Star Wars and The Sims more cohesive as a whole. Not everyone would have enjoyed it, but those who are fans of both franchises would have been able to appreciate how the Star Wars brand was integrated with mechanics that already existed within The Sims. The Sims already has occult states, aliens, and a reputation system. Building this new pack within those pre-existing frameworks would have made it feel like something that is truly Star Wars and Sims combined. As it is, it doesn't sound like lightsaber is even a skill. Instead, it's tied to your fitness skill. I don't know why other skill types, such as creativity, can have painting, various instruments, and types of cooking besides, while all types of physical activity get lumped under fitness. Different skills are required from professional figure skaters versus long-distance runners or sumo wrestlers. By Sims logic, Usain Bolt could pick up a lightsaber and instantly be skilled with it. He's the fastest runner in the world. Therefore, he has top fitness skill. Therefore, he's a Jedi Master? I'm not going to lie. I want to see that now. The logistics aside, I'm just disappointed as someone who was excited about this and as someone who saw the potential in the 2 franchises being blended together. Some complained that they didn't want the film's characters to be included in the pack. For my part, I would have been more interested in seeing old faces, such as Han Solo, Leia, or Darth Vader. The likes of Rey and Kylo Ren aren't instantly recognizable to those who aren't fans. Darth Vader is known by everyone, however. He's one of those characters who gets quoted, even by people who know next to nothing about Star Wars. Even the Mandalorian's cast would have served better. The show was generally well received, and Baby Yoda became an instant sensation. As far as the new movies go, I did like Finn, yet he wasn't in there. Maybe EA was just trying to avoid drawing attention to the skin tone dilemma? Oh boy. Lastly, I wanted to discuss why this idea overall was doomed from the start. I'm not hating on it. Like I said, I would have enjoyed a pack that played out as I described, with a Jedi occult and a skill tree that offered Force Lightning for the Sith-oriented. I might still like it as is. However, I'm in the minority. I'm still interested in this pack, just as I'm still interested in seeing fairies and werewolves added. When I hear about university, I shrug and smile. That sounds cool. When I hear about vampires, I'm jumping in my chair and calculating how much moolah I can scrounge up by just putting money on my Christmas list. The majority of the fan base is interested in realism. EA did well by releasing the occasional fantasy pack, but it was understood that those releases were considered niche, and there was a marked amount of players who wanted the option to toggle creatures off, or otherwise didn't want supernaturals in their game. I prefer to have them blended in with everything else, but that's me. I'm one of those niche players. If you've seen some of my first videos, or glanced at my Tumblr bio, you'll know I'm also a fan of RPGs. I play the likes of Skyrim and Dragon Age. I enjoyed the Strangerville pack. If it involves fantasy, horror, or science fiction, I'm all for it. The new Star Wars pack comes with quests and objectives. As someone familiar with RPGs, these features are reminiscent of those mechanics used in adventure games. I'm intrigued by the idea of completing different objectives and taking on quests, but I'm also an RPG fan. The Sims is a life simulation game. It's understandable that adding RPG elements to a completely different genre would confuse people. For those of us who like more than one genre, it's a novelty. For those strictly interested in life simulation, it comes across as confusing. It would be like opening Skyrim only to be tasked with raising a family and building a house. Oh wait, they did do that. Skyrim came out with their Hearthfire pack, and it was their poorest performing expansion. It wasn't that Hearthfire was terrible. A subset of players enjoyed it for what it offered, but many of those players may have been, like me, interested in multiple genres. The majority of players play Skyrim to undertake quests, battle dragons, or, if you're bored enough, slaughter whole villages with your fire magic. Ultimately, The Sims and Skyrim are two completely different games, satisfying different players and meeting different demands. Granted, The Sims can be different things, and EA has said this. Some people play the game for its storytelling possibilities. Some focus on the fashion and create a sim system. Others ditch all of that and focus on building. They share homes on the gallery and utilize such mechanics as half walls and stacked windows. Some want improved babies. Others, like myself, want werewolves. I appreciate that EA can address different play styles. Something like Strangerville can go over well, even if it's only to a subset of players. The problem is that niche interests are being prioritized. I'm not mad at EA for their Star Wars pack. I'm not interested in complaining or tearing anyone down. Yet I am a minority, and I'm examining the logistics of the situation. If the rumored expansion pack is Generations, the company business plan will make more sense. While I still have my fingers crossed for werewolves, I'm not going to be shocked if people flip out over receiving them before cars. If I'm being completely honest, I don't really care about cars. That's mainly due to the way the world is. If The Sims 4 was an open world, and you could see them driving their car around, it would be different. As it is, Sims would hop into the car, it would pop onto the road, and then the usual loading screen would pop up. It would be fun to customize a car and see it in your driveway, but I don't know if I want to pay $20 for that. Not to mention that the ability to paint and draw in your car would just resurrect the old ire over the color wheel that was revived with cats and dogs. Everyone wants something different. While you can't please everyone, it's odd to create a pack that's so niche. At the same time, people who are satisfied shouldn't be frowned upon. Just as someone who's unhappy has a right to their opinion, so too do people who are pleased. I will be purchasing this pack when it comes out and sharing my feelings. If nothing else impresses me, I hope to at least have fun with the new clothing options. As a medieval and science fiction nerd, I could see myself using them. What do you think of this pack? Are you one of the few who are interested in it? Were there elements you were disappointed not to see? Let me know in the comments below, and happy simming!